All right. So let's continue. Now we can see that these two terms are getting cancelled with the minus sign, right? And what I am left with is H equals K by L dou T star by dou Y star at Y star equal to 0. Now, dou T star by dou Y star is the gradient of temperature in the Y direction. And here it is non-dimensionalized temperature and non-dimensionalized length scale, but in the Y direction. Now, this will change from geometry to geometry, from system to system. But now I can know that temperature was our function of x, y, re, and pr. And if you see this term and try to transfer everything over the other side, I can say that dou T star by dou Y star is now a function of x star, re, and Prandtl number. And I will simply take the other term, take this term on the other side. And what I will now have is HL by K, which we define as our Nusselt's number. If you go to our class on dimensionless numbers, this is nothing but our Nusselt's number, which is now a function of x star, re, and Prandtl number. Is it clear till this point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now the profoundness of this particular analogy, what all we did is, if Nusselt number is a dimensionless number, so it's independent of the system. So if I try to find out the Nusselt number as a function of this through graphs or through some sort of equation, and then for our particular given system, I put out the values of L, rho, nu. In these particular cases, the value of viscosity, the value of thermal, this thing K, in these expressions, I can now get the value of H for the given system. Do you guys get this point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but
Yes,
still
sir.
one problem remains is the X star. So for that, we'll use the analogy that we'll use the analysis that we were discussing in the last class, the concept of averaging. Now I said still this H was required even after taking the averages. So now what I do is, if I integrate it, well, how will your X star vary? It was like it's a ratio, right? What is X star? X star is nothing but ratio of X by L. How will it vary? It will be varying from 0 to 1, right? So what if I integrate it and say the average of H bar by K is the equal to this, is now just function of RE and PR, because this gets cancelled out in the integration. So I'm just trying to use this particular expression over here. H bar is equal to 1 by AS integral H into dA. So even in this A, Y will be a function of X. This H is a function of X, and then we are dividing it by total area. So we then come up with the average heat transfer coefficient, HTC. And that HTC will now be independent of the dimensions. This is what we had already discussed. And hence, in this particular final expression, I am keeping this H bar in the Nusselt's number. I'm adding a bar over it, meaning that it's the average value. And now X star is nowhere in the picture. Do you guys agree on this?
Sir, can you tell this again, this part?
Yeah. So, Kaushik, were you clear up to this part? How we got Nusselt number as a function of X star, RE and Prandtl number?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, still RE and PR is something that is fixed for a system, right? RE and PR. So I can now label any system, any sort of system that I have with its constants. Like what was the length of the system, what kind of geometry it was. I can say, yeah, it was two concentric cylinders. Okay. Now I will find out the diameter. I will label that system with diameter. Okay, what fluid? Okay, this fluid I will label it with its viscosity and density. Great. Then what else I need? I need the thermal coefficient K for the fluid. Okay, great. What else I need? Done. So I can now label the system. But this X star is something which is the non-dimensionless quantity in L direction. So this value has to be removed in some way. So how can we do it? So we had discussed this in the last class. Like our first approach was, let's take average of the average of it and try to eliminate, because you know every time X and Y were changing, with X the Y was changing in the boundary layer. So let's just take a area. So this was the total area of the plate. So let's just average out the value of H over the area. But for that also, we were still needing some kind of function of H. Now that we have a function of H, and it will be great if we can eliminate X star, so that our relation is now completely, you know, properties of based on the properties of material and geometry of the system. So I want to remove that spatial variable. This is a spatial variable X star, like how it is varying. It's like at this point X star equal to 0, at this point X star equal to 1. It's a spatial variable. I don't want that variable anymore. So I'll just average it out over the spatial variable. So this is the averaging technique. So you say Q is the sum of all small QS over the differential areas dA. Q on the, this was coming from your minus K dt by dx, and this Q is now equal to my H into delta T into dA, and in summed it over the complete cross section area of this plate. So ideally it would have been H dA Ts minus T infinity and a big summation. But we say that differential area is very small and it starts from n equal to 1 to infinity. So we kind of replace it by integral. This is what we had studied in the calculus. So this is nothing but the average. And then we say these two quantities are same. So we try to solve it, and we are now left with H. And then we say this Q will be something like H bar into A into delta T, right? So this Q will be H bar into A into delta T. Now I try to equate them, and I will be left with H bar is equal to 1 by A. Here A suffixes because that is the surface area of this, into integral H dA. And now I try to put this sort of equation, in that integral, and what it will cancel out, it will simply cancel out the spatial variable X star. And what I will be left with is H bar as a function of RE into PR. Now I incorporate this H bar in this formula, and what I will get is average Nusselt number for the geometry, and that number will be a function of RE and PR. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So up to this point is what we need to understand the theory. Now I will quickly show the similarity of this Nusselt number in other transports. So this Nusselt number is nothing but very similar to your, let me write down. So fluids. What is the equivalent of Nusselt number in mass transfer? Anyone?
Sherwood number.
Correct. So here Sherwood number will be function of Reynolds number. And what is the equivalent of Prandtl number? Schmidt number. Is this clear? And here we are just left with a very simple relation. CF is something like a function of Reynolds. This is what you have already seen. There will be some constant over here, and I guess while engineering pipes or for calculating friction losses for flow of fluids in the pipe in your fluid mechanics course, you must have used this form of equation where they have given the data in the form of charts, right? So for different roughness, these
Yes,
charts
sir.
are there, right?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, so this is the derivation of that. I did the derivation for heat. You guys can extend the same derivation from heat to mass. Simply replace the T star by C star. I mean, I had shown you in the previous class, like instead of temperature, put concentration, use appropriate constants by replacing them by the constants in mass transfer, like K by DABA, AB, right? H will be your K or HM, and just follow the same process that we did, and you will land up to this point. Just follow the same process that we did. You will have you'll start here with, sorry, you will start with species balance equation over here, which then you will use the same analogies. Instead of dou 2c, you will have dou 2t, you will have dou 2c by dou x square and del square c by del y square over here. And you try to follow the same process. Instead of Prandtl number, you will be coming with Schmidt number over here. Then this will be C star. Then you will have a similar expression to this, where HM or K is equal to DABA times C infinity minus CS by CS minus C infinity into dou C by dou Y star. And then you just take the terms from this side to this side. That particular constant comes out to be your Sherwood number is equal to this. This will be again this function. Then you average out the value of Km or K or HM, and then you will come out with the average Sherwood number is equal to some function of Reynolds number and Schmidt number. In heat, you will come out, it comes out to be a function of Reynolds and Prandtl, and in fluids is just a function of Reynolds number. And these expressions are presented in the form of graphs. So for various geometry, people have done a lot of experiments, and now they have given out graphs for the complete range. And our problem solving now becomes very simple, because what we have to do is we either use the expression of for our geometry. So how are these given? So example, so flow over a flat plate, laminar conditions. So you know the condition of laminar talks about the condition on Reynolds number. So you just calculate the Reynolds number for your problem. Oh, it's coming out laminar. Okay, so I need to use this expression. So and then you find out the value of h. You know the all the parameters of your geometry. Calculate the value of h. Use it to calculate the total thermal resistance, and from there you know the driving force. And just quickly write down the schematics of solving any problem from so the schematics is, there will be various conditions given for these expressions. All these expressions have some various conditions, so you need to calculate the, you need to first check your, you need to identify the suitable expression for your system under study. So typically, what are the systems that you need to think of? Is it flow over a plate, or is it flow through a pipe, or is it flow through a duct, or is it some other kind of flow? Then is it laminar or turbulent? After and based on it, you'll find expressions in literature, or you'll be given the expression. Select the correct expression. Calculate h. Using that expression or graph. In some cases, you get graphs. Once your graph is calculated, use it to find the objective of the problem. So in general, what you have is just three parameters. Q is equal to delta T by all the thermal resistances. So if your objective is to find out Q, use that H, put it in this over here, find out Q. If your objective is to find out delta T required to get the Q, put it here, transfer it over here and solve it. And you can solve any sort of problem that has been given. Or basically what I will say is, from this particular understanding of our boundary layer, we can now find out the value of CF, H and K in fluids, heat and mass transfer respectively. Is it clear, guys? Okay, great. Now I'll just put a very for better understanding, I'll just put one expression that is of great use to us. So the name is Tituss-Boelter. These are the two scientists who did a lot of experiments on on fluids flowing through a pipe, and there and the H, heat transfer coefficient associated with it, and their expression looks something like this. Nusselt number is equal to 0.023 times Reynolds number to the power 0.8 into Prandtl number to the power 0.33. So, and this is for turbulent condition, where Reynolds number is greater than 10,000. This condition is already given by them. While studying, they had found out, and they said our expression is valid for all our is valid for all Reynolds number that is greater than 10,000. For a Reynolds number greater than 10,000, this particular values vary slightly, but the form of equation is same. So very soon we will be starting with heat exchangers. So in heat exchangers, there will be flow of fluid through pipes. So we need to calculate H, and we'll be using this expression very often there. So when Reynolds number will be this has to be greater than, will be greater than or equal to 10,000, we'll use this very particular equation. When the Reynolds number will be less than this, these values will change. When there will be a shell and tube heat exchanger, again the expression remains same, but these three values slightly changes. So we'll discuss that in more detail when we will be going through that particular chapter. For now, I will summarize the boundary layer discussion. So whenever we have some convective flows, either in fluids or heat or mass transfer, and that too when there are two types of what I can say, phases involved, there exists boundary layer. Whenever there are two phases, there exists boundary layer. And our discussion on boundary layer as an engineer is the physical manifestation of frictional factor in fluids, the heat transfer coefficient HTC in heat, and the convective mass transfer coefficient Km or KL or HM, whatever you like, in mass transport. So, and we kind of had a good discussion initially on what is the boundary layer, why it is formed, how it is formed. You know, we did that in a very qualitative way, just trying to understand. And then we did a rigorous mathematical analysis of the boundary layer by saying that fundamental laws will always be applicable on any differential element under of the system which is in our study. And we will focus our attention only on the significant terms and try to eliminate the non-significant terms. So in fluids, this expression helps a lot. In heat, these two expressions helps a lot. In mass transport, this and this particular expression will be of great use. We then took the fundamental equation. For our case, it was the energy balance expression. And then we tried to incorporate the conditions that we had generated. Then we non-dimensionalized it so that after non-dimensionalization, it becomes very easy to understand which term is dominant, which term is not dominant. It's something like 1 is equal to 0.8 plus 0.1 plus 0.005 plus what? Okay, it's just like 1 is equal to 0.8 plus 0.1 plus 0.05 plus 0.05. And it is very obvious that the last two terms are highly insignificant as compared to the first term. The second term is somewhat dominant, but not so great. I mean, and then we can simply eliminate those last two terms and say that these two terms are dominant. Then we are left with very simplified expressions, which we got. And we said that the final expression looks like some expression which is a function of x star, y star, re star, re, and pr. Then we said our h is now looking like a function of this. And now what we have to do is we need to do some experiments at for various Reynolds number and Prandtl number, and try to find out the value of Nusselt number for that, or the value of h. So most of the times the experiments are done to find out h as a function of Reynolds and Prandtl number. Lots of people did this study, and they generated graphs and expressions to find out the relation. Now what we have to do is we simply have to borrow their expressions, validate the conditions for their expression. Like the Reynolds number should be in this range, Prandtl number should be in this range. We need to see if this is matching or not. Yes, if it's matching, yes, we can just start using the expression. And one example of that expression is the Dittus-Boilder equation that we'll be using very frequently in the further part of the course. And this particular expression is for Reynolds number greater than 10,000. That is turbulent flow, a fully developed flow. So with this, I will like to end our discussion on boundaryless. Thank you.